All right, guys. So let's just shift to the center of our foreheads and the crown of our head and just take in the entire room at once. And just show up in this moment. We're going to slow ourselves way down. And just find the comfortable pocket of the present moment. This is a process of coming to a stop. And at that stopping point, there's a crack in the world that opens out into reality. A reality that is timeless, free, liberated from your personal stories. So slow yourself way down. And let the world stop. There's a teaching that's actually kind of difficult to teach because it's frankly so trite that everyone thinks they understand it the second they hear it, and something shuts off if you try and talk about it. But it's a teaching about the ultimate goal of spiritual life as the letting go of the self. The letting go of the ego identity. a tricky thing, leading a student towards liberation. Because what you're liberating them from is themselves, or what they think they are. In the early stages, a student usually has to be almost tricked, coerced. You do that through directing their attention to things that are not them and showing them that there's a whole world of experience that is beyond their personal stories. And you have to do it over and over and over again, because it takes that long for it to dawn on them what it means that they feel better when they're outside of their personal stories. I mean, are you ever as comfortable in your personal stories as you are when you finally sunk into meditation? A sustainable comfort. That doesn't pin you down or make you heavy. It doesn't agitate you or make you erratic. It just instantly solves all the problems through that shift in the attention. But after you've seen that enough times, you do come to kind of realize that a relinquishing of the self, of the ego identity, is actually a worthy goal. And you kind of go back and forth. First, you pursue it, then you fall out of it because it starts to feel like work. And you just kind of spend years sort of vacillating back and forth between prioritizing that and running away from it. Eventually, the thing that actually really makes you commit to it, ironically, is its opposite. You know, you actually do give yourself to the story. The things that you say that you want and need, you actually go and get them. Not so much so that you can suddenly be fulfilled by it, because they're not fulfilling. They're mostly just a bunch of additional headaches. But for you to see that you never actually needed them. And once that's kind of worked out, then the path to letting go of the self just becomes very clear. There are several roads to that. You know, the road we teach here is one of shifting the attention, one of personal responsibility, right? Which means we have to let go of a lot of our victim stories and take ownership for things that are happening. one of not running away from the challenges and difficulties, but opening up in the face of them, which again forces you to actually relinquish your stories. You know, in shamanic training, you've got a teacher there that is just forcing you to do things that are so against the grain of your nature that just to survive it, you have to let go of everything you think about yourself and your life. That's the road that I was brought up on. There are other roads that to me were unattractive until I got that, road clear ahead of me. And then I suddenly understood them. One is bhakti, the path of devotion, of picking some kind of deity and just giving yourself to it. You know, that is the basis of the Christian path for people who actually, walk it. I think a lot of people don't on that path, but that's the path that's laid out for them. It's a purely bhakti path, pure devotion. You know, there are other paths that deal with reasoning. You know, they deal with knowledge and really just getting straight to the heart of the nature of anything in front of you and to the nature of who you are. And you just relentlessly dive deeper and deeper and deeper into that question of who am I, who's experiencing this moment. So there are many paths, but they all lead you down the same road. For me, the most counterintuitive was always the bhakti path. You know, in shamanism, you don't give your power away for anything. But as you wake up, you come to realize that actually everybody's very religious. Even the atheists are deeply religious. We're all living in service to something. And that system of ideals that hold the religion of our life in place. You know, we're misidentified with them. We think that that's who we are. But it's just what we're choosing to believe in, what we're choosing to give our attention to, what we're choosing to prioritize. And so a path of devotion where you pick something divine that is not part of your personal story and give yourself over to it is really not different. For some people, it's a very romantic road forward. But before that path becomes clear, it looks like you're giving something up. Something is being taken from you. After that path is clear, after you realize that the majority of your suffering, if not all of it, is coming from a misidentification with your own personal story and life. Basically, misplaced bhakti, misplaced devotion. You realize that all the things that you want to give up in order to be with what's real might as well be given up to something divine. Sometimes that's easier. And in fact, it is considered one of the easier roads forward, especially in darker times. You come to realize that you don't have anything to lose. Because reality, you without the story, is better than you with the story. Not just better for the world around you, it's a better life experience. It feels better. It leads to better things. It even improves the story. Because the boundaries disappear and you can go wherever you need to go. So that is where all of this ends up going if you follow it to its conclusion. For a long time, it's a better night's sleep, or a dealing with some anxiety to make you not feel as bad when you wake up tomorrow morning. But if you keep moving forward, what it really becomes is a relinquishing of the false self so that you can cleanly be what you are in a sustained fashion. And as stressful as that sounds to people in the beginning, when you get over that hump and the road before you is clear, it becomes an unbelievable relief. The early stages of that relief are a recognition that every moment can be a shift into devotion, which again is really a conscious shift away from being blindly devoted to your habitual stories, and instead devoted to something that actually doesn't damage or harm the flow of energy around you. Can you see that? You know, we have very sparse attendance tonight, and usually it's small classes that bring out a teaching like this. Most people, I don't think, could handle it. Or they could handle it, but they wouldn't know what to do with it. I think at your stage, the most useful thing is first to recognize the devotion you already have for your current arrangement of life. And to recognize how much of that is not consciously chosen by you, but just built in a reactive way throughout the course of your life. And as you recognize it, to shift your attention. You can shift it to the breath the way we teach you here, or if you have a religion, you can shift it to your deity. Or I know people who just shift it to devotion to the divine consciousness. I had a teacher like that for a long time. It's a shift off of your current understanding of you. The funny thing is, it could be anything. Literally anything. What's nice about devotion is it kind of threads into the story, right? It's like it threads an exit point out of the story into something that is then infinite. And so as soon as you try to enter the story of this divine thing that you're devoted to, the whole story collapses into it. But it's not different than devoting your attention to the breath. Or looking up and saying, it's Thursday night, I'm going to show up for that class no matter what. I'm going to do everything I can. Just a devotion to that thing that brings you clarity and peace. We all have to find the thing that's going to romance us forward. For me, it was shamanism. You have to figure out what it is for you. Everything I've taught you in these classes can be operationalized through it the second you do. Because we're just teaching the core essence of waking up. It sits at the heart of any path you could choose. The thing is, if it's romantic to you, you'll choose it. I know people who deify their essential oils and work with plant consciousnesses and things like that. There are many roads. The power source is the consciousness. And your willingness to let go of one storyline for a story that leads you out of the story. And every moment of your life, hidden within that moment, is an invitation to step out of the story. You do have to practice it, though. The reason you practice it is because there are neural pathways in your body that you need to build up. The more time you spend feeling free and happy, the more those neural pathways for freedom and happiness will be primed, built, and ready to go for you. And if you do it enough, you get to a point where you can be in a situation that just feels awful, and then you remember that that moment is an invitation to shift your attention into the path that is romancing you forward. And you just shift right there in front of whoever's trying to make your life miserable. You start to match your energy with that instead of with them. And everything changes, just like when you sit in this course, in this class. The meaning of the whole storyline shifts. So I just wanted to put that on your radar. Something to start looking at. It's not, oh, should I go down a path of devotion or not? Devotion is actually one of the main components of every moment you're living. So it's about recognizing how you're currently using your devotion. And decide if you're using it in the way that you mean to use it. Is it making things better, or is it dragging you into the mud? For most people, it's dragging them into the mud. A power completely at your disposal. A bhakti yogi would say it's the only thing that we have to give back is our devotion. Something to take a look at. Are there any questions about that? I'm surprised it's coming up. Can you say that again?
I'm sitting with it. I don't have a question necessarily, just taking it in.
Cool. Okay. Well, so why don't we do that then? Let's go into meditation and just sit with it. You're going to shift your attention off the story. Attention at the forehead and crown. And just try and recognize that what has shifted is devotion. You've taken devotion off of a storyline, and now you're throwing it up into your spiritual life. Just be with that. Both of you have been around the block long enough to know the experience of that kind of resonant, intelligent consciousness that comes in meditation, that just descends upon the space. Why don't you just shift your devotion onto that for now? See if you can hear it ringing. And how much of yourself can you give to it? Because here's the thing. What you're really giving to it are all the blockages. And when you're done letting go of all the parts of you that are stuck, the line between you and it disappears. Because that line between you and it was only ever a blocked storyline. try letting go a little bit and see if you can catch that. You won't lose anything you don't want to lose. Flexible, willing, given. That feeling of energized lightness is something you can build on. Those are chemicals in your body. Hormones, neurotransmitters. Connecting to receptors on nerves and cells. Creating changes in your body. Such that you'll adapt to be able to feel that way more and more often. A self-existent joy that isn't an upswing, but just a product of release from the shackles of the story. A relief that's always available to you. The more time you spend in this state, the more the energy will clear up stuck parts in your body. The less time you'll spend feeling depleted. if you guys can hear that, but there's a really powerful lightning storm moving through. Kind of think there's a chance we might lose our internet. This week, I think you should work with giving yourself to a chosen point of focus. Whatever romances you forward, if it's devotion to your practice, devotion to your crown, devotion to a deity, devotion to truth, pick something you can shift your attention to outside of the story and let it have you. Let it have your heart. Let it have your attention. And match your energy with it. Give your blockages to it. Give your story to it. And just be with what remains. And try to spend at least 15 minutes in that state. So that there's time for your cells to really absorb that energy. It'll raise your vibration, and you'll find that even after you're done, life responds differently to you. But do it every day and watch it build. Do it every day, and by the end of about 5 days, you're going to notice the immediate access you have to it. And when that happens, start shifting into it in the middle of the story of your life. Just bring it right in. Just shift. What looks like you giving up control is actually the only control you'll ever have. What looks like you becoming a servant to something is actually the key to your freedom. You've been in shackles. This is the key. Any questions about that before we end for the night?
Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, guys, have a good night. I will be here next Thursday, and I will see you in a week. Bye.